Everyone, welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here with an ongoing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign titled Evermore le Masquerade. This campaign takes place in a world of mine called Rustveen. In particular, it takes place in the kingdom of Gerdes, which is heavily based on the Baroque periods of Spain, France, in Venice, with a little bit of Orlais from the Dragon Age series, the franchise kind of sprinkled in through there. Yeah, I'm really happy. This game has been just absolutely incredible so far. And I can't wait to get back to things here with session number 17. This session's title is Affectations and Affectations. The story has been nothing short of incredible so far. These players are absolutely amazing. And these characters are knee-deep in trouble. So we're probably going to increase the depth of that trouble this evening, I'm sure. But before we do that, touch on a couple of points of business, the first of which is that if foul language and mature subject matter are things that bother you, then this is not a game for you to watch, particularly this campaign. While we will never, ever explicitly feature sex and sexuality in this game, we're gonna get about as close as we can get, and there's going to be a ton of innuendo. So if that's the kind of thing that makes you squeamish, then avert thine eyes and probably your ears too. I don't know what that word for that is, but there you go. In particular, tonight there will be descriptions of domestic abuse. We probably, I don't think we'll get explicit on that either, but we don't know. These scenes kind of get played out in real time, and sometimes it feels necessary to go far. So I do want to make it clear that we have safety tools in place. We are using not only lines and veils, but also red light, green light. So I will try very hard to make sure to check in with my players throughout the course of this evening. And as always, if there is an issue with anything that is going on, if you want us to practice caution and back off a bit, just put yellow light. If you absolutely cannot take what is going on, please just say red light, and we will divert. Okay. I think that's all of the business that I needed to cover. So I'm going to pass things over to my players so that they can introduce themselves, tell you where you may be able to find them on the internet and what they might have going on before we're going to get this started. So first up, we're going to start with Kenya.
It was that horrible moment of suspense where I realize I'm the first to go. Hi, everyone. Kenya, Acer Sin on the interwebs and the gaming places. You can find me on my channel most Sundays. Life is lifing, and since it's spring and summer and stuff, we've been busy with other things, so we haven't been playing as much. But Sunday mornings, D&D game that I run, and then you can find me here, and that's all the places I'm streaming right now. The Otherwise, tonight I am playing Vera Marion Wynne Missionero, who is the madam and the owner of the Castillo, which is the brothel in this lovely, lovely, lovely city we live in. And she's an eloquent bard, and she has her secrets that are slowly starting to come to light, and who knows what's going to happen tonight. But I have a feeling she's not going to be, well, I just don't think she's going to enjoy the events to come if she realizes there are some evil things going on. She's kind of a protector for lost souls. But anyways, I am going to do that thing that we started doing on this channel alone, which is say, hey, take it away, Matt.
Yeah, I'm Matt. I run a channel called A Fistful of Dice, and I make RPG books with Absolute Tabletop. We've actually got a new mecha hack book coming out soon called Aether Nexus that's like fantasy mecha. It's like Escaflowne, Knights and Magic, that sort of thing. And we've got a Kickstarter for that launching here imminently. So I've been hard at work on that. And tonight I am playing Loxley LaCroix, who is a swordsman with a checkered past. And I'm really excited to play tonight. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to M.
Hi everyone, I'm Em. I am around on the internet, mostly on Mini Terrain Domain, a few times a week. And today I will be playing Sylvie Levine, and I'm super excited. And I will pass it on to Austin.
Well, I am Austin, and I will be playing Guillaume, the student, scholar, actor, playwright, socialite, and overall spoiled rich kid of the group. And you can't find me anywhere online because I hide. And I will pass it off to Karen.
Hello everyone, I'm Karen, also known as Myth and Gears on the socials. If I'm not here, you can find me at Mini Terrain Domain, where I get to play games over there too, so that's fun. Tonight, I get to play Chimeran Diego Ruiz y Gonzala. He is a charismatic rake, a foolhardy person, with not a few secrets of his own that are slowly being revealed. I cannot wait to start.
If you didn't notice a pattern that all of these characters have a checkered past or their secrets are being revealed, well, then this must be your first session, so welcome. But yeah, enjoy the ride. Cool. I think that's everything that we need to touch on before we get started. So unless there's any other questions or business, then let's go. All right. Many people mistake what it means to deeply love someone. Some believe that true love is unbridled adoration, to see only the good of a person, with a desire to bask in the warmth of their radiant light for as long as possible. Others view this radiant being as a prized possession, a jewel to be displayed, so that they themselves may become the center of the jealous adoration of others. But these are merely the masks of love. True love is to hear the beating of their heart and to know the look in their eye before a word is even spoken. It is to give more than you take. It is to seek harmony through compromise instead of obedience. True love is the desire to guide them through the shadows when they are lost, and to bask in the radiance of life by their side. As we rejoin our story, we find ourselves not high over the canaled intersections of the city of Aladalgo. Instead, we find ourselves miles away. A town that is clearly also Gerdessi in architecture and culture, but we see mountains just on the horizon behind the city. The city has a river, but no canals that intersect it. We move through the city towards the highest point of elevation here, where a grand castle sits, the home of the Doge of Manchalone. We pass through the walls, where we find the Doge, Salvario Lothador del Sombragna, a rather imposing man, human, in his 60s, maybe 70s. He wears a ruffled collar around his neck, his rather thick neck. By contrast, he carries a small dog in his arms. The dog appears to be just as ill-tempered as the man, as it barks and yips and naps at every individual who passes as he makes his way through the decadent halls of this estate, walking with the assistance of an equally ornate cane. He is congratulated by every individual that he passes, but he either completely ignores them or gives nothing but the dog, I'm telling you, a little nod of his chin in affirmation and nothing more. The scowl hiding behind his mustache apparent. He makes his way to a set of large doors where he opens them to find the room where his bride-to-be is waiting. He enters the room and closes the door behind himself. Who is the other person sitting in this room, Karen? What do we see?
We see a young woman dressed in quite ornate clothing, fine jewelry upon her, glowing red hair, wavy all the way down her back. It's done up in a very fancy kind of hairstyle with lots of braids and gems and pearls woven within it. But she's got a very like defiant face on her as this man enters the room.
You have settled in fine? You are comfortable?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's fine. It's not my home. This will never be my home.
He gives a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Of course, it is not your home. I hope that you will be less blunt and obtuse in the years to come.
You may have bought me from my parents, but I will never let you buy my affections or my respect.
Look around you, girl. I own everything that you can see with your eyes. And beyond that, by at least 10 to 20 miles.
You don't own me, and you never will.
Again, he smiles, falsely. We shall see. But tomorrow is the grand day. Lucky for you. No expenses were spared. And you will look the part. There will be a smile on your face. You will be happy for the guests. You will look at me like the lover that you will be.
I can pretend to smile. I could pretend to be happy, but I could never look upon you as a lover. Look at you. You're old.
He takes like a dangerous step closer, looking like he's willing to use his girth, his size, to get his point across. Certainly not someone who's afraid of being feared. I have a gift for you. He turns and he moves to a box that was in this room before you were, set on the far side of the room, amongst many other ornamental objects. He moves to this wooden box and opens it with a key. He then turns to show a beautiful, exquisite circlet made of finely dainty metals that have been woven around gemstones. This looks like a crown. This is for you to wear tomorrow. But I would like to try it on tonight, just to make sure that it fits properly.
I think that she rolls her eyes as the defiant young woman she is. Whatever.
He comes up behind you. I'm almost imagining that you're sitting at like a form of a vanity of some kind, like a small table, you could perhaps get ready.
And probably looking at him this entire time through the mirror.
Mm-hmm. And again, you watch as he walks up, and there is no smile on his face at this point. He is stoic, perhaps borderline even cruel in the way that he regards you in your reflection. He crosses with this circlet in his hands and holds it above your head for just a moment before he lowers it down onto your crown and begins to adjust the chains and the jewels and things on your head, checking your reflection to make sure that everything is placed properly. When he's done, he looks into the mirror to catch your eyes, and there is a moment of, you think maybe approval? Perhaps? There's a smile on his face, and this smile does reach his eyes, does appear genuine. But that's when the expression turns to one of a cruel grimace. Karen, what is it that happens next?
He says some word. It's hard to understand because as soon as the word is said, it's like the word wants to worm its way out of your head. It won't let the word be known, but it fills her brain as it's worming its way through. And as it's entering, as it's doing its message, the pain begins. It's excruciating. The circlet starts to glow. And as it's glowing, it starts to pierce this girl's skin. It pierces and starts to melt. Not just melt, but meld. And you can see it as it's just becoming part of her. It is fusing into her head, her forehead, her skull even. And this entire time, the girl in the mirror, you can see how her face goes from this defiance to this fear, to this terror, to this absolute horror as she screams as this circlet fuses with her skull.
After this twisted, cruel magic has forged itself onto this young woman, the scars, the redness fade, showing no sign of its presence. He leans forward and he places his hands on your shoulders, still grinning, his face twisted in a sick mockery of joy, pleasure. And he says, "You see, now you too belong to me. This gift I have given you. A single word." He utters another strange word, and in the reflection in the mirror, you can see the pattern of the metalwork and the gemstones glow beneath your skin with a white heat. "You see, I will always know it is you. And if that is not enough," he utters another strange-sounding word, and you are instantly reminded of the kind of pain it caused when it fused to you as it racks your body again.
I think by this time the pain is so severe, she's fallen to the ground and she's gasping for breath as her entire body is just being tortured, really.
That little dog is on the floor close to you, yapping at your face, barking incessantly as he comes over on this cane, leans heavily on the cane. You can hear the floorboards creak as he shifts his weight entirely onto this cane. And he says, "There is a third word that this gift can impart. If you ever decide to leave against my wishes, this is the last word that you will ever hear."
She's just sobbing at this point on the ground.
Now, he straightens himself up. "Dinner is in half an hour. I expect for you to be there." With a smile. He pivots, and you can hear the thunk of the cane as he leaves the room. The next thing we see is this young woman, I imagine, lit by nothing more than the starlight of the middle of the night. Karen, how is it Isabel escapes?
She runs under the night to her brother's house, and she bangs on the door and is met by this his manservant. Vitor, I need to leave. I need to leave now. I need to get far away from here, as far away as I can possibly go.
We see the face that is familiar to us, Vitor, who kind of peers out into the night to see who may have followed you before ushering you inside without a question, closing the door. We cut back to that exquisite via, where we hear the Doge scream in anger. And as we see him seated inside at a long dinner table, where he has upturned many of the platters full of food, he merely speaks in a low rumble and says, "Release the bride hounds." We cut and find ourselves amid an explosion in the sky. Dwarven rock powder and magic combined into explosions of light and sound in the air above the canals of Aladalco. Mardival is in full swing. It is a dizzying swirl of delight that some of you know has no realization of just how near the precipice it is. As we rejoin the five of you, on the heels of the disappearance of Annabel Corone at the Castillo de Fugida, where we see Vera and Lox, perhaps, maybe, now joined by the other three of you. What is happening? What is that conversation like? What are you doing in this aftermath? Does anybody
Vera
need
is going.
Okay.
I was gonna say Vera is going to pull out a she untwists that piece of copper that she kind of keeps hidden on her, and she's actually gonna throw a sending spell out and try to get a hold of Annabelle. And she's going to send the spell out, and she's going to say, "Where are they taking you? We will come for you. We will not let you be taken." And she's just kind of like, it's almost mechanical how she's saying it, because she's just in this kind of odd state of panic, where she's still functioning, but she's, yeah, it's like it's robotic while she's doing it.
There's a pause before there is a reply, and when the reply comes, it's brief, and I don't know if there's really like emotion that comes with a sending spell or a message spell, but she says, "I cannot see. I am surrounded by darkness. I have no idea. We feel like we're flying."
I think when she gets that message back with the unfortunately not helpful information, I think at this point, Vera just kind of collapses onto the roof that they're standing on, and she just puts her hands in, or her face in her hands, and she just starts kind of quietly crying to herself and just repeating to herself, I failed her, I failed her, I failed her. And she kind of just goes into this weird cadence of that.
Locke's standing nearby, like kind of slowly approaches Vera as she's sort of kneeling there on the roof. And he would just like slowly, sort of carefully, like lay a hand like on her shoulder and not even really say anything, but just sort of make his presence known to her.
She would probably lean into him if he's still standing, maybe even just lean into like his leg or something and just kind of wrap her arm around it. And she's just sitting there kind of shaking and crying as she just keeps repeating, I failed her, I failed her. They come to me abandoned, and I failed her.
You gave her a home, and I suspect you're not going to rest until we find her. You haven't failed her. We're going to do everything we can. We will.
We have to find her, Locks. We have to. We have to.
I understand.
She's flying. She said they're flying.
Flying, that means magic. That means they could be anywhere. There's got to be a way to track them. Has to be.
There are spells, but I don't know them. There are ways to find people. I don't know if we could find someone who does. Got the money. Maybe we could pay them. It's a thought.
What about the Condessa? Think she might know something about that kind of magic?
Possible. She's powerful, but she's pretty specialized.
Well, if we don't have any other leads, that might be a good place to start.
I have to go get the house in order.
Jeremy, would Guillaume by any chance know anybody from like the college that was good at like what kind of divination magic?
Yeah, I would say so. I kind of envision there's probably specialists of each of the different schools of magic. So there's probably either another student or possibly even I don't know if they're called professors, but a dean or whatever, that would be at the school that teaches such things.
I mean, like, so like, there was my professor. He listen. I mean, I probably can't go asking, but he might be willing to do it. It costs some money and the materials, but I don't know how much. I don't know how much the professors make. If I'm being honest, my father ran the university, so well, not my father, but anyway, this is a whole tangent. But there are divination experts at the school that might be able to help us. What time of day is it right now?
So it happened in the evening. I'm assuming that you probably wouldn't have waited until the morning to come together. So it's probably like middle of the night, or early morning kind of thing.
Whatever money we need, I'll figure it out. I don't care if I have to sell some of the things from here, I'll get whatever money we need. We have to go. We have to find her. We know nothing good is going to come of this. And not just because she's kidnapped, but it's like they're breeding them for something.
We need to know where all those women are housed. I think maybe seeing someone who can help us find that would be a good idea. I mean, I don't really want to wake up a professor in the middle of the night, but I assume there's probably some of my old chums. Well, chums is a strong word. Some of my old academic rivals might still be drinking. It's Mardival after all.
Go. Yes, where are we going?
Smash cut too. I suppose the university would be the place to start. There's I think there's professorial lodging if we want to go the perhaps more likely to yield results, but also a little more inconsiderate and rude route of waking a professor. Or we could try one of the more gifted students, a little less of an imposition to drop in on them.
I think we'll follow your lead, Guillaume. Your call.
All right. Well, if it's let's go with the professor. It's rude, but I'm gonna be in rat form because I think it would be a bad idea for me to be seen asking. Actually, you know what? Not that I don't trust any of you with magic enough, but I probably should be that. I'll disguise myself and I'll ask the questions. Uh, yeah. Okay. Okay. And he's gonna kind of look at all of you like, yeah, no, this'll be okay. This'll be okay. Showing up with the four of you and whoever I look like, that'll be fine. It's like, oh boy. Okay. Well, it's bad timing, but let's go.
All right. So you begin to make your way across the city towards the university. Now, between the university and the brothel, there's a little bit of distance, and it takes a little bit of time to cross the city on a normal day. Middle of the night shouldn't take much time at all, except, of course, that it is the middle of Mardival. So what I would like is for each of you, as we make our trek to the academy, what is one thing that is very on brand for Mardival that either is something you witness or slows you down a little on your way there?
I think as we're walking down the street, we kind of come to maybe a crossroads somewhere, right? There's like an intersection, and we get there. And there's all this kind of it's this rhythmic kind of singing and chanting together, and it's kind of a short rhyme. And then it everything goes silent, and then there's this cheering, and then it happens again, and there's more silence, and then there's some booing. And as we approach and we get closer and closer, we realize that we're coming up on this basically this Gerdes version of Red Red Rover that is happening in the middle of this intersection. And there's just these drunken people that are in these various levels of completely nude to fancily dressed to just their masks, and they're playing this giant game of Red Rover in the middle of the streets, and we're hearing the rhythmic song and then the silence, and if they break through, it's the cheers from the one side, the boos from the other, and we try to kind of go around, and it's so large that we can't, and we're actually kind of pushed into this scenario where we can't even get through without participating in this game a couple of times. And so we have to get into the line and take hands, and we have to sing the songs. And when they call you out, they don't call you out by your name, because nobody really knows who's who here, but they call you out by what you're wearing, and like, let the peacock come over, and just whatever the costume is that someone is wearing, that's what they get called out by. And so that's one thing very on brand that we do.
I think at one point we're heading to cross a canal. And the bridge is really like crowded, packed with people, even in the like middle of the night, like it's more densely packed, and there's kind of light flickering up on the buildings around the canal. And as we approach the bridge, we see it's that someone has entirely set a gondola on fire and has like pushed it down the canal, and it's kind of gotten wedged right under the bridge. And like all these people are like trying to put it out, and some are just looking, and some are like coming into the crowd because of all the commotion. uh and then like the bridge like almost starts to catch, and where we like, and people start like scattering, and we just have to like rush out to get down to the next bridge across the canal before they were like crushed in the press.
Think that as we're walking down a street, whoever is in front, all of a sudden this giant burst of flame erupts down in this cascade that kind of blinds everyone. Everyone can feel the heat, and as the smoke and the fire clears, you see like a fire breather, like walking around and like breathing like this like crazy fire out of his mouth. And we've kind of walked into a street performer area where we see people juggling and dancing, and on these large stands with these beautiful silks just in the street, doing these drops and going down. And I would also say that maybe at one point one of these performers pulls one of us off to do like a magic trick with, and no matter how much the one protests, like, no, I have to go, the magician proceeds to pull various objects out of ears, nose, hats, scarves, everything. It's probably not the most the best magician, so he's kind of fumbling around, but eventually we're able to get back on the way. But yeah,
Guillaume cannot help himself but like alter what he's pulling out with like little minor illusions that he's just doing by like down by his hip. And so it's like all these like really embarrassing things. There's just like weird like ribbled paintings that are like on the handkerchiefs and things, just trying to like might as well fuck with the guy.
mm-hmm.
I think a bit further down, we come across a square. It opens up into the square where there's a lot of noise and laughter, and we hear the sound of music coming from it. And the square is packed with people dancing. There's an ad hoc band already put up. They've got the music is going. And all these people are just doing kind of reminiscent to like, well, if they weren't drunk, you could probably tell, but it would be like tango or something like that. But people are just like falling all over people. They're getting in each other's way. A couple of places, there might be a couple of fights will start out because somebody trod on somebody's toes. But most of the time it's just everybody's having a lot of fun. And I imagine as we're trying to get past, if a couple of us, maybe all of us at one point, is dragged in to do a few steps and twirls and stuff before we could remove ourselves and get off the dance floor, if you will.
On one of the roads as we're walking, there's this guy who is clearly inebriated. His mask is kind of like half falling off, and he's slurring his words as he's kind of stumbling, and he's yelling up at like the second story of this building, and he's going, "Bianca, it is Maudival. She meant nothing to me." And there's just like clothes being thrown out of the window, and it like then like plates, and then like an entire like chest comes flying out of the window. And so we're sort of like dodging all of these things as they are getting hurled out of the window. And this guy is continuing to plead with Bianca.
Fantastic. Every single one of those is absolutely on point. We see not the party, but we as the audience, we see as each of these things is going on, when there are these flashes of fire breath or flashes of magic, or perhaps even by the street lights above the bridges or by the fire of the gondola, we see these things drawing the attention of the crowd. But what gets our attention is that there's an individual that we see repeatedly, facing the opposite direction of the crowds, watching the five of our heroes make their way across the city of Hidalgo with rapt attention. First, we see them watching as they cross the bridge, as they pass the fire breather, as they dance through the square, as they dodge laundry. Each time, we see this individual standing just far enough away to stay hidden, never approaching and never speaking. You approach, finally, the academy. What is the angle here? What's the play? How are you getting in?
Is it generally like locked up, or is it like an open campus?
So it's generally an open campus for most of the building, but you would know like the dormitory parts and all of that would all be closed at this time of night. There are a lot of people that are kind of coming and going because of Maudival, so you might have an opportunity.
Do professors tend to live on campus, or do they tend to just have their own homes? Because I wouldn't know where the professor lives if it's not a on-campus like residence.
I think that it's probably a mixed bag. You know, some probably have their own personal places, but there's also, you know, the ones that are maybe a little more frugal-minded who, if given the opportunity to have a place to stay for basically rent-free, they do live on campus. And we'll just say that the professor that you are seeking out in particular, you know, lives here on campus.
Well, as far as I know, Vindelbrot's still a cheap bastard, so he'll probably be living in the same little on-campus shack. And he'll start if the campus is like I'm hoping that we can just go up to the door of his like kind of home. But I don't know exactly how it would be set up. If we have to, I would say we would just kind of like try to blend in with the students coming and going. And if I absolutely have to, I can illusion us some like a fake like ID or something, like a student like document.
I think that if you were going to sneak into a place like this, you've probably picked one of the best nights that you could. Not only are there people constantly coming and going, most of them, if not the majority of them, are wearing masks and costumes that cover a large portion of their identity. So, I don't imagine that any of you has a difficult time sneaking in. Are all of you dressed for Mardeval? Or are you wearing your normal, everyday attire?
Oh gosh, I'm dressed for Mardi Ball. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Favorite time.
I don't
of the
know.
year.
I don't know as though I would have had a chance to change. So I think I'm still in my party outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
still be in that dress I wore to the.
Oh, I do want to say one thing before we left. I would have let Vera know to grab some items of Isabella,
Annabelle.
Annabella, Annabelle. Grab some of her like personal effects from her room.
Absolutely.
As soon as we find the professor's door, I think like it's pretty late, but this is pretty important, and hopefully he'll understand. And I'm just gonna knock on the door. I am disguised as I wanted to pick like another classmate that I had a couple years ago because like I've been kind of in and out. Somebody that wouldn't still be at the college because like it's stupid that I am. Somebody who should have graduated already, but like somebody who's like kind of forgettable, someone that you're like, yeah, I definitely had classes with that guy. I think I learned his name. Uh and so hoping that that's like how his relationship was with the professors too. So he's just gonna disguise himself as that guy.
And remind me too, can your magic duplicate an actual person's visage, or does it have to be like someone
As far
that
as I know,
doesn't
disguise
technically
self,
exist?
I think disguise self is not too specific on that. Let me see.
It might not be. There's several different spells that kind of have very similar effects at various different levels.
Yeah, look different. Just says look different.
Okay.
That's really interesting.
So yeah.
Otherwise, the extent of the illusion is up to you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you pick someone who, again, has a somewhat familiar, somewhat forgettable visage, and you make your way kind of through little groups, kind of coming and going, some congregating in the hallways here and there. You definitely get to a much quieter part of the academy because, I mean, this is literally the teacher's dormitory. There's not a ton of revelry that's going to happen here this time of night. But you have that kind of moment where you have to kind of double back once or twice because it's been a little while since you've gone to this particular professor's room. But at some point, you wind up at the door that you're mostly sure is the right one.
See, if I had paid closer attention in his classes, I could have figured out where he was. But then I guess we wouldn't actually need him. But I'm gonna try this door, and I'm still wearing the mask too. So I will knock on the door disguised and wearing a Mardival mask.
Perfect. Disguiseception. You knock on the door, and there's no response. After a moment, You knock again. You hear shuffling on the other side of the door. You hear, "Who is it?"
Yes, I'm sorry. You may not remember me. I am Darian Lacroix. I was a student of yours several years ago. I am so sorry to bother you this late in the evening, but this is a very serious matter. And I need your help. You was the only person I could think to turn to.
This cannot wait until the morning.
I promise you cannot. I will make it worth your while if that is in the recompense.
There's a long pause, and you can hear the exhale from the other side of the door. You hear the latch being moved, and when it opens, the rest of you see an elven, or perhaps probably half-elven, individual who looks like they're probably just past middle age. They have kind of coppery, wavy hair. The beard is the same color as most of his hair, although he does have white streaks that kind of frame his face. His eyes are like incredibly green, very, very pale, almost the color of mint. And he has a scar that appears from beneath the hair at the side of his face and runs down to almost his chin. He looks incredibly put out right now. He's wearing what looks like a very old, like, overcoat, like a house robe kind of coat, kind of over his what looks like pajamas, and he's got it kind of like pulled tightly. He says, "What is it that is so urgent that it could not wait?"
I fear that I cannot tell you everything there is to tell in this short time we have, but suffice to say, a woman has been taken by a shadow. I believe it might be more dangerous for you to know much more about that, but we need to know where this woman has gone. She's been taken and she's in grave danger, and perhaps all of our Hidalgo is as well, if we do not recover her.
It is fairly dramatic for this time of night, I think.
It is a dramatic situation. I apologize.
Yes, I heard you the first 2 times. Please come in. He kind of opens the door to permit all of you.
Yeah, I'll come in, and as I do, I'll remove the mask just to be polite. Or as if it's polite, but also to maybe hopefully jog his memory a little bit, just enough to be like, okay, I do recognize this guy.
And the rest of
we
you?
have brought. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, what did you ask? I missed.
The rest of you? What are the rest of you doing?
Oh, I'll follow Guillaume inside. I do not remove my mask. I just don't.
I don't think that Sylvie would go in. Like, not everyone has to go in, but she'll just kind of wait outside. Is going to kind of keep an eye out for any party revelers who might, get a little bit too nosy and overhear or anything like that.
Sure. Okay.
Vera
Is anybody else?
will go.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Vera
will go in with Guillaume, but she is going to, and she will remove her mask. But when she removes her mask, anyone that's in the room with them would notice that she does not look like Vera at all. She looks completely different. She has disguised herself to look much more. She actually has a little bit of a half elf ear thing going on now, and her skin has gone from kind of that deeper olive kind of tan skin that she is, and has gone to this very almost like porcelain kind of look, and her eyes are no longer the dual colored eyes that she has, but they are these very, very deep, like chocolate brown. And she will stay in the room, but she'll stay kind of back by the door. She's trying very hard to kind of contain her emotions as she's sitting here waiting for this professor to get things moving.
Locks will actually probably stay outside. So not outside, but I'll stay outside the room. I imagine that Locks would look into the room and surmise that it would likely be cramped for 4 people, let alone 6. So he'll stick to the hallway and kind of keep an eye and an ear out.
Okay. So it sounds like Locks and Sylvie are hanging out in the hallway as a lookout, and the other 3 are headed into the room with the professor. Okay, let's see here. Okay. As you enter, he kind of watches and sees that the other 2 of you are staying out in the hallway. And he shrugs and he closes the door. He kind of moves over. There's papers piled everywhere in here, books and scrolls and devices that are strung around the room. There's nary a flat surface to be seen here, except perhaps for the bed that is kind of shoved in the corner almost as an afterthought. There is a fire that is going in the hearth nearby, and he kind of moves over to a small table where there's like a small bottle. It looks like it's literally just been taken off the shelf not that long ago, and removes the cork and turns towards the 3 of you. Can I offer any of you a nightcap?
I mean,
What
I
is
guess
it?
it would be rude to say no. Thank you. Yes, a small one. But we are in a hurry. Again, okay, you've heard me say I am sorry.
Yes.
Do you know of any magic that could locate a person? We have effects. We know her. We have people that have worked closely with her. But do you know of any magic that we could use, that you could do, that could help us locate her?
He kind of thinks for a moment, kind of as he pours, wine into a glass that looks like it had some in it already. He then kind of looks around for a moment and finds another glass before dumping its contents into a bowl and kind of wiping it clean with the edge of his house robe, and then filling it with wine. Forgive me, you will have to share. And he hands it to whoever's the nearest, probably Guillaume. He takes the other cup with him. So he kind of lowers himself onto the edge of his afterthought bed. Sounds to me like perhaps you can use something like scrying.
Yes, I suppose that would help.
Yes, scrying is usually best whenever you are trying to find someone who is lost. But the question is it someone that wants to be found?
It is, but she was taken from us unwillingly. Although it is possible she will be under some sort of magical protection. Can scrying penetrate such things?
It is possible, but it's not always so easy. It depends on the person who is trying to keep them from being found. You think that the person who has taken her is gifted in the arcane arts?
Based upon her manner of abduction, I am certain.
Very well. Let's see, where did I put that? He starts kind of rummaging through the effects kind of scattered around his office, very clearly trying to find something. It
Professor,
looks like you'll
excuse me.
probably have. Oh yes, go ahead.
So sorry. If the person you're trying to scry doesn't want to be found, can they be found?
Sometimes it can be more difficult if they wish not to be found, if they have taken precautions and things of that nature.
But if they have taken precautions, is there still a way to find them?
He kind of stops looking for a second. I thought you said that she was abducted.
Hypothetically, I'm curious.
You're looking for two people then.
No, we're just looking for one. I'm just wondering what the limits of this spell is.
Limits are sometimes broken, but there is much that depends on it. If someone has taken precautions, then it could cause the spell to fail entirely, whether those precautions were taken by someone else or by them themselves. If they did not know that you were looking and they had not taken precautions, then in theory the spell should work just fine.
I think Amirin probably notices Vera giving him a very what the hell are you asking these questions for kind of look in the middle of this. There's this very kind of sense of just like this incredulous look of just shut up and let him help us find her.
Chimarin is not noticing Vera at this point. Maybe pointedly not looking at her, but how accurate is this spell? Like, do you know exactly where she'll be when you find her?
It is not a matter of knowing exactly where, as far as some kind of positioning. It is more context based on what we see around the individual, where they are located. Would give us, perhaps, hints as to where they may be. It is not an exact science.
Any help that you could offer us as quickly as you could offer it will be.
Yes.
We will be
A
very
big
grateful.
hurry, very dramatic, middle of the night. You're sorry, I understand, yes. Where did I put that damn thing? He kind of like puts his hands on his hips, kind of looking across the room as if like it's just gonna fall off the shelf.
Do you need help finding something?
No, don't touch a thing.
Okay.
Everything has its place.
Absolutely, it does.
Aha! He says, like, triumphantly, and he, like, sweeps across the room, kind of throws, like, several piles of cloth and what looks like maybe a couple of bags kind of out of the way, before he produces a crystal ball. Here it is. Here. He kind of, like, gingerly carries this back across the room, where he motions for Guillaume to, like, clear a space on the table where he just poured the wine.
Yeah, he'll do so. Very carefully, like picking up a stack of whatever is there and like setting it like just on even maybe like a blank space on the floor to keep the stack intact.
He comes over and he places this crystal ball kind of on the corner of this table, and he pulls up a nearby chair and kind of lowers himself into it and scoots it so that he can kind of position himself in a very deliberate manner kind of in front of this crystal ball. Very well. So I can do this for you. However, he kind of clears his throat.
Good gracious, what is it, man?
Yes.
A fee, perhaps, maybe a donation. For the school, of course.
Ah, yes, of course.
I will, of course, be willing to happy to accommodate. What would be a reasonable donation in your estimation?
He kind of makes like a mock frown, kind of tosses his head side to side. I think perhaps 500 gold pieces should do it.
Cameron coughs.
I don't
Almost
carry
spits out
that
a
on me.
string.
I do not always carry such high values of coinage on my person, but how about this? I will write you a promissory note for the remaining 400. I have about 100 that I could part with now that I have on my person.
He kind of narrows his eyes at you, making like the color of the green of the eyes almost disappear into the white orbs. So it's just like these beady little pupils kind of studying you. You do realize that I teach divination magics, yes?
Yes?
Which means that I can find anyone that I wish to.
Yes, that's why we
That
came to
is,
you.
that is exactly why we are here.
Including people who try to cheat me out of money.
Yes. We won't cheat you out of the money. We'll get you the remainder of the money.
Mm-hmm. He says, kind of in disbelief. Very well. Pay what you can now. I will have what is due after.
All right. I don't have the party gold sheet, but I don't know how much we have. Do we have enough to absorb that blow?
The last round of stuff that we bought, we had 787 gold left. So
Okay, well, we're not giving him 500 of it. So I've got 100. I'll become even poorer. I'll just give him 100.
Okay.
I will throw in another. I have 160 on Vera, so I'll throw in another 100 right away to give him.
After the first 100, he definitely seems... Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Chimera will throw in 50 as well.
Okay. When the first 100 coins are kind of set down, he kind of hefts them in his hand and kind of shakes his head. But once the second 100 and then the 50 are set down, he nods. Very well. Half up front is good enough, I suppose. Now, if you would please describe this person to me in the best detail that you can manage. And you said you have personal effects of this individual, yes?
Yes.
This I will defer to my companion here.
She'll nod and pull out probably maybe a brooch or something that she wore a lot. Even she'll also
just as a reminder too, you found her shawl clinging to a piece of like patio furniture. Just as a reminder.
And she will also have grabbed a hairbrush to actually have some of her hair with her and give him these items.
He takes them. Oh, I see that she is someone very special to you. My condolences.
Thank you.
He takes these things and he kind of arranges them around the crystal ball. It seems, again, to be very deliberate and measured. And sits back, kind of cracks his knuckles a little. He says, now, if you would please, lower the flames of the fire, and I need it to be as silent as possible.
I will take a step out of the room. As soon as he says silent, Guillaume's like, well, then I should probably. I'm not good at that.
Vera will tend to the fire and lower it down.
Chimarin is far too enwrapped in what this guy is doing and how he's doing it.
Once the
Yeah,
room
Guillaume
is
like makes for the door, but like seeing the magic starting, I think he probably can't actually bring himself to leave and just like stands by the door staring,
fair enough.
like like trying very quietly, like not to like make like like he's very like interested in every little nuance of the ritual.
Every little like noise that Guillaume makes in the very beginning gets kind of like a sharp look from this professor before he turns his attention back to the crystal ball. You watch as the room is sufficiently dimmed and all of you kind of fall into somewhat of a more quiet state. The noise outside, though it is ongoing, is somewhat dampened by the shutters and the curtains in the room. He places his hands again in a very like predetermined position, kind of with these effects and the crystal ball, the base of the crystal ball itself. And he grows very still and very quiet himself. You can watch almost like his breathing even grows more rhythmic, shallower, almost like watching somebody who's asleep. You can see his chest rises and falls, and he doesn't move for probably at least 5 minutes. He even stops blinking. You find yourselves mesmerized by this crystal ball. You feel almost drawn into it. You find it difficult to tear your eyes away from it. And as you realize that that's kind of the case, you feel almost that sensation right before you fall asleep. This kind of extreme comfort, this relaxation. Your eyes kind of shift out of focus. The three of you find yourselves inside of a dark space. You realize as your eyes kind of adjust that you're in the corner of a box of some kind. You realize that you can see the top and two walls extending away from you that look like they're made out of metal. Iron, perhaps? You can see just a little bit of reflection from the starlight outside as it streams in through very small barred windows that are near the top of this box. And you hear the rumble and the rattle of this iron box as it's moving rapidly. You see on the floor, some sitting up against the walls, dark shapes that start to take form as your eyes adjust further. And you see half a dozen, 10 women. Some of them are unconscious. Some of them are sobbing. Some of them are trying their best to console one another. They're in night clothes, party attire, everything in between. But they are banged up, hurt, injured. And every single one of them that is conscious, at least, is absolutely terrified.
Do we see Escanada there amongst those women?
You do not. You do, however, see Annabelle. She seems to be one of the women who is attempting to console the others in this box with her. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is there, so you said there's like windows in here. Is there any way to gain any sense of direction? Like, can the moon be seen, like position of the moon, or even just like, is there any way that there's anything, I don't know, the fireworks from the city or something lighting up in the sky to kind of see, are they moving out of the city? Which is it? Where is it in relation to the location of the wagon? Anything like that?
You try to change the position of this viewpoint from the very corner of this small box. And at first you feel resistance, almost like something was pulling you back with elasticity kind of to this corner as you try to move away. But you hear yourself, less than actually saying it. You hear your own voice say, "Move to the window." Chimeran, Guillaume, both of you hear Vera say this. The professor, again, muffled, almost like you're underwater, you hear the voice of the professor say, "Very well." The position then glides seamlessly, smoothly, to one of the windows. One of the women kind of looks up directly at you, each of you, seeing this for just a moment with a kind of a quizzical look on her face. And then she looks away. As this point of view moves to one of these high-barred windows, you can see outside that undoubtedly you are in some kind of wagon, an armored carriage of some type. You're in the mountains. On one side, you can see mountains rising high up above, well beyond where you can get a perspective to see over. And on the other, in some places where this carriage travels, sharp drop away cliffs on the other side. Far, far down below you, you can see the lights of a town some way in the distance.
Do I recognize this view? Like, is this a road that I potentially have traveled many times on?
Give me a roll. Let's see. What is it knowledge? What is it called in this system?
History?
History. Call it history. But you can have advantage on this.
Oh, no, that's an 11. Yeah, I rolled bad.
Okay. You do not understand where this is. This is definitely not a road that you have ever been before. However, with that roll, the town that you see in the distance does look somewhat familiar. You think it might be Manchalona.
Is there realizing that that's what it could be, is there a way of like getting out of this spell? Like if I shocked enough.
You can make a wisdom save.
I would like to.
Okay.
That's a 16.
Okay. You are able to shake yourself free of the mesmer. What would you like to do?
I think it's more like it's unconscious, it's an unconscious reaction, like a shock, a fright. So feeling myself like knocked out of this spell. I think Chimeran's looking around the room to the others, seeing what they're like, and I think has had enough and is going to leave the room and go out to where Lox and Sylvie would be.
How careful are you about exiting the room?
Probably not too careful. I mean, Chimeran is pretty like graceful to begin with, but at this point he just wants out. That was not something he wanted to see, and he needs to get out. So he's not terribly careful.
Okay. Chimeran, you open the door. Suddenly, Sylvie and Lox, Chimeran exits the room, closing the door behind him a little roughly. And as he does so, Guillaume and Vera, the two of you feel a strange sensation. As this carriage has been rocking kind of its way up this somewhat rough lane or road, your perspective hasn't moved. It's almost like it was like with cinema, it was almost like it was filmed with a steady cam. Like the carriage is moving, but your perspective is not. But all of a sudden, you again kind of muffled and kind of distant, you hear the sound of a door kind of half slam. And all of a sudden, now your visage, the viewpoint that you're seeing this through, begins to shake and vibrate with the motion of this carriage. And then the carriage interior seems to extend, like it's stretching into like a point of disappearing on the horizon. And you feel a sensation almost like you're being knocked backwards. And in a moment, you come to back in the office of the professor. He is pressed into the back of his chair, his head kind of looking upwards, and he shakes his head. Apologies, the concentration was broken. Did you see enough?
I will have to check with our friend who left the room, but I have a feeling he may have recognized something. Hopefully that will be enough. Thank you. Again, I am very sorry to have disturbed you so late, but perhaps you could see from what we just witnessed, the situation is quite dire.
He seems very perturbed. He shakes his head. Yes, of course. Please.
I implore you to speak of this to no one.
You have my silence, I promise. And please consider the matter settled. There is no need for further payment.
Vera's very
I appreciate that.
Vera's very shaken by this. She's her hands are trembling and she just looks at the professor and makes eye contact with him, and I saw her and she's alive. Thank you for everything.
He merely nods. I suppose there is nothing left but to wish you the best of luck.
And do take care of yourself. There are This is dangerous information for you to have. Be wary.
With that, he begins
We should be
to
going.
nurse that cup of wine that he poured himself earlier. He doesn't even get up to show you to the door. He seems to be pretty rattled by this as well.
Yeah, as soon as
Vera
we're
will.
out.
Nope.
Oh,
I was
go
gonna
for
say
it.
Vera
No,
will
go.
turn and open the door and leave, and wait for Guillaume to follow.
Yeah, as soon as we're outside, Guillaume will turn to Vera. Are you okay?
She's alive, so that's good. She's in a wagon in the mountains somewhere, so that's not. But she's alive. If they're really doing this for the children that these women are carrying, then at least we know we have a little time.
And Chimeran, are you okay? That was sudden, to say the least.
Yeah, I think when he first kind of exits the door, like exits and closes the door, like locks and Sylvie, you would see that his face is like white and he is shaken and he is like hyperventilating almost, and he's trying very hard to get under control. And it's only moments later that Guillaume and Vera come out, and when Guillaume asks him that, he's like, I know that place, but you can't ask me to go there.
Okay, then you don't have to come. But I'm going. Tell me where it is and I'll go.
He tries to takes a couple of deep breaths, trying to get back like some semblance of like calmness that he had before. The village we saw was Manchalona. I don't know where that road was, but that was the town.
Well, sounds like we need to find a map and plan an outing. We should check
Chimeran,
on.
I won't stop you if you don't want to come with us to Manchalona, but you you still want to burn some vineyards down, right? That does still sound kind of fun.
Yes, but
Let's do some terrorist shit.
Escanada was not in that wagon. If she has not yet been taken, we might be able to save her.
We should go there then.
And if she wasn't taken and isn't going to be taken when she is in the same condition as all the rest of those women, I have to wonder maybe her husband knows something or is more involved. Somehow got her an exemption.
I still want to check.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's all the more reason to check.
Chimeran just looks to Vera.
I've been wanting to go to talk to her anyways. Makes it even more important to go. And maybe well, Maybe we'll arrive and she'll be in the process of being taken and we can just follow them.
I think Chimeran has like an absolutely horrified look on his face when you say that.
I mean, we would save her too, but
But
what? There's a wagon full of pregnant women that is being taken into the mountains.
we
One of
already
them-
know where it's going.
We know it's somewhere near a town. You didn't recognize the road and you're too scared to come with us. So I'm trying to think of a plan to free a bunch of pregnant women who are innocent in some sort of nefarious thing by whatever the hell is going on.
And Chimeran, if there's a reason you don't want to go back there, maybe we can deal with that reason as a group.
He looks
Listen, is
to
it parent troubles? I know what
looks-
that's like.
he looks to Vera, he looks to Guillaume, he looks to Sylvie, back to Locks, who I'm sure is maybe a little confused at what's going on, back to Vera, back to Guillaume. It's like, Escanada, let's find her, talk to her first. Then we can talk about when and where
Yes.
and who.
Do we wake her up in the middle of the night now too?
It take us till morning to get there. Their place was like slightly outside of
That's
town,
the city,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's on the western bank of the lake where Aladalgo is situated. So not like necessarily until morning, but at this point, it's probably 3 or 4 in the morning already.
Well, I would recommend we steal some horses from my father. There's no way he's informed the staff yet that he doesn't want me around. That's way too embarrassing for him. So I think we could probably. I'd like to get my horse at least, and I'm sure he's got a bit of a stable. Rich people things. Don't worry about it. He'll replace them. It'll be fine. He'll kind of look to Locks and be like, the stables where they keep the horses.
You explaining stables to him?
I don't know what people know and don't know. I didn't want to make an assumption that would be rude.
It's a weird assumption to make.
Kinda did.
Okay, sorry. I guess the point still stands, though. We might be able to get some horses if we want to speed the journey.
Horses would be
I
good.
think
I like horses.
As someone who's done a lot of traveling on horseback, horses would be good.
Hey, Locks, could you possibly let me know when you do this traveling on horseback, if you need to stop somewhere, do you put the horses anyplace special?
I've always wondered if there was like a building where you could put the horses when you're not using them, but no one will
Wait, so
ever
it's
tell
a
me.
regular person thing too, is what you're telling me. I thought it was just like we had a stable next to our house, and that's where we kept our horses. I thought everybody like either like you have like a bunch of horses that you have in your stable, or like I don't know. I thought you maybe like rented them or something.
Poor people can have things too, Guillaume.
Oh,
It's just when I start to think maybe he's not so bad.
Then he just opens his mouth and you remember?
if it's any consolation, I was raised this way, I think. Listen, I don't like my father or the job he did any better than you guys do, and I'm working on it.
Come along, let's go commit horse theft and take horses from Guillaume's father's horse house.
You know, the that place where you put horses.
Right.
All right. So as we see the five of you leaving the university, the academy, planning horse thievery as your next crime, there is probably a part of the conversation about that you will also need a boat, because Aladalgo is situated in the center of a lake, and there are no bridges to the mainland. The gondolas will not row to the shores of the lake. But there are absolutely ferries that will, Buckleberry Ferry, that will take people to the shore, to and fro. That being said, as austere as Guillaume is, he may have a kernel, maybe a kernel of truth to what he is saying, because horses in Aladalgo would be very unusual. There's not a lot of room to ride them here in the city, and they are quite expensive usually to ferry back and forth from the land. So,
yeah, I want to emphasize Guillaume has never left the city. He has
Perfect.
lived on this island. Like he's like, you know, gotten in a boat that's gone like around the island. But like, I don't think he's ever gone like left fully.
This will be fantastic. Okay. So as the group makes those arrangements, I think we're going to go ahead and take our break as we kind of make the transition between these scenes. So we're going to take 10 minutes, go to the bathroom, pet your dog, refill your drinks, go to the bathroom, etc., etc. And yeah, 10 minutes. We will be right back with the second half of episode 17, Affections and Affectations. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, welcome back to Evermore le Masquerade. This is an ongoing D&D 5th edition campaign set in the world of Rostveen, particularly in the kingdom of Gerdes. This is session 17, and the plot thickens. So, we rejoin the five of you with stolen horses, apparently. As you are dragging, begging, pleading these horses to board a boat that one of you, or several of you, have chartered to help you get to shore. Luckily, the ferrymen who make shore excursions are in operation all hours of the day and night currently because of Mardival. So you easily are able to find a captain, I guess it would still be called, who is willing to sail you and your horses the short distance to the western shoreline of the lake. Is there anything that you're doing on your way to the shoreline before you get to Via de Apuezuelo? Is there anything that is being discussed before you get there?
How far of a boat ride is this going to be?
I would think an hour, 2 tops.
Okay. Yeah, I think while we're well on the way, and I'm assuming we are probably could be in an area where we're comfortable, but we're out of earshot of others. Chimeran will turn to Sylvie and kind of grab her hand. As you are well aware, and then he'll look around to the others, but not the rest of you. My name is not Chimeran. He looks back at Sylvie.
She is looking at him and gives him a nod of and squeezes his hand.
And he's looking at you directly when he says this next part. It is not even Solana. And just kind of waits for your reaction.
I honestly don't think Sylvie is surprised. I know that I think that she knows that there was something, but just knowing that Chimera and Solana didn't want to say it, and now they are. So, but she's curious. You see, a hesitancy, I would think.
Right. It's
Guillaume
enough.
is definitely puzzled when you say that. He's like, that name is familiar. That was your friend, right? That came to your shop. We told her everything. That was probably pretty foolish of us.
And probably not as foolish as you think.
Wait, so why would that be? And then you see gears turning, wait, what? Oh, what?
Chimera will just look at you as you're going through this, and then when you finally what, would just nod, you'll get there. And then he looks back at Sylvie and he's what I'm about to tell you. It's a secret I've been holding for years. And this secret will put you in danger. But I fear just... And then he kind of looks to the rest of you. Just knowing me has put you in danger. Sylvie, my name is Isabel. Isabel and Scary. I fled on my wedding night from a horrible man who was going to do horrible things. If he finds me, he will kill me or something far worse. And I desperately need your help. And kind of looks to all of you. Yours, Sylvie. I am hoping maybe you might know. I've seen the magics you do. I've seen the things you can create, and maybe you have some insight. But, and then he'll launch into kind of this story in a much more abbreviated form of what we witnessed earlier. And by this time, I think he's shaking, like Sylvie, like his grip on your hands is like strong, like he might be actually hurting you at this point, and he's shaking and he's barely holding it together. My sister has found me. I fear he's not far behind. If she can find me, most assuredly he can. He is the Doge of Mancha. I forgot the name, god damn it. Monchalona. That is why I fear to go back there. I need your help to get rid of this. And he kind of just points to the mask that's hiding his forehead.
Listen, we've come up against some heavy shit together. And I mean, I don't deign to speak for the group, but we won't let anything bad happen to you, Chimeran. Isabella, whatever your name is, whatever you want to be called.
For now, I must remain Chimeran.
Very well. We've fought vampires together, so your asshole ex-fiance isn't going to pose a problem. We've got your back.
I hope you're right.
Always.
I'm confused. Who's your sister?
Why is that important?
Because you said that they found you.
Her name is Juanita. She lives, well, she was in the city. She came to your store. You know the one I'm talking of.
I read her mind. I saw her involved with or with the woman, Solana.
Maybe you were misreading what you saw.
No, that's what I do for a living, dear. I'm pretty sure I'm well aware of what I saw. So either your family's very close or you're lying to us.
We are close.
Okay.
Is there something I don't know about Manchalonan custom? Never mind. I'm not going to pry. I will say though, listen, if this dickhead in Manchalona, like, if you need me to like rat out and like creep into his bedroom and just fireball the place, I'm willing to do that for you. Just a thought, like while he's asleep, just like conflagration. Just think about it.
Appreciate that, Guillaume. More than you might know. And he hasn't let go of your hand, Sylvie. He looks back at you to gauge your reaction.
Sylvie's just nodding. You can see that this is a lot to take in just because it's all of the information. You can see that every time she looks up, like towards your mask head area, you can see like this spark of like rage that flashes through her eyes. That man will never touch you again, I promise.
Doesn't need to touch me to hurt me.
We will figure this out. We will make sure that he will have no power over you.
Sylvie, while you are saying this, giving this reassurance to Chimeran, it starts subtle, and at first you may not even be sure that you're seeing things correctly. But after a moment, you realize that there's a soft white glow that is coming from beneath Chimeran's mask, particularly the upper part.
Sylvie's gonna look at it, and I think she like looks to Guillaume really quickly, and looks kind of back at the like a very like frantic glance, trying not to alarm Chimeran, but trying to get Guillaume's attention.
Yeah, there's definitely a shrug of like, I'm not doing that.
With each passing moment, the glow is becoming more intense.
Captain, I think we actually need you to start heading back towards the city. I think we may have forgotten something. Now, Chimeran, I don't want you to worry too much, but there seems to be a light emanating.
Chimeran's eyes grow wide behind his mask. He's like, you can see that like the fear is growing behind his in them, and he's frantically looking for something, anything to put around to hide his face, like a blanket, a cloak, a horse, anything. And I'm not sure what he maybe finds, but maybe like a one of those canvas tarps or something, that stinky, rotty, whatever. But he's going to now like cover himself to hopefully stop the glow.
Chimeran, at first it was, while you were telling the story, and now that the glowing has been pointed out to you, at first you thought it might have just been like a twinge of a connected memory. But now you're starting to realize that with the intensity of the glowing starting, you're also starting to feel that intense creeping pain coming up, and it's getting stronger. Someone else in the group, it doesn't matter whom, notices that as the ferry is starting to begin to turn around, that there is another ferry coming from shore towards Al Hidalgo, kind of in this same lane that's kind of used to pass back and forth, that is coming closer to your position. Will pass you until the boatman turns your ferry around.
Quick decision time, people. We need to know, do we think that boat, I'm guessing he's on that boat. Do you think it's just lighting up? Chimera, do you think it's just lighting up because he's close to you?
At this
Because
point,
we could just keep course.
I think the pain, you can see that Chimeran is kind of fallen down to his knees, and it's no longer the like fear in his eyes. That's there too, but you can see that he is trying very hard not to cry out. And through clenched teeth, he just whispers, "He's here."
We have to stop that boat. We cannot let it reach shore. We need to give ourselves some time. I think Sylvie's gonna start standing and is gonna start going like towards the end of the boat to like be in the direction of the boat that's following.
So the boat isn't not following. You're going to pass one another. Like you're headed towards the shore. It is headed towards the city.
Yeah, we're like two ships in the night.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. It's a coming and
I
going
understand.
ferry kind of thing. Yeah. It looks like to be another ferry. However.
Okay. Sorry. I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we
However, the
gauge-
captain of your boat is starting to turn around.
No,
What
don't turn
was your-
around.
What was your question, Matt?
Captain, it looks like we actually have everything we needed. We thought we didn't. We're gonna keep on our original course. Thank you so much.
Dude's like
Yeah.
spinning the wheel.
Spins like that. What was your question, Matt?
Can we gauge at this distance how close the ferries will pass within each other if we both keep our sort of current course?
It'll be within 100 feet.
I could jump that.
Okay.
It's not.
I can send a ball of fire that far. Just a thought. You really can't tell a wizard that just hit 5th level to stop anything without them thinking, well, I could just destroy it with fire.
I learned this
Vera-
new spell.
Vera is going to go over to where Chimeran is, kind of got this thing over his head, and is, I'm assuming at this point, if he's in that much pain, kind of maybe kind of crouch down and like, especially if he knows that like passing, and if not, she's going to tell him lay down, and
Yeah.
she's going to kind of push him down towards the floor of the boat. And then she is literally going to step over his head and let her skirts fall over his head to block any residual light of this thing that's like glowing on his head. And then she's going to look over at either Guillaume or Knox. She doesn't care who. And she's just going to tell one of them, get over here, come to me. And she's going to have one of them come over to her. And she's basically going to kind of start doing this whole like two lovers having an intimate conversation kind of a thing, and just stand there all like wrapped up in each other while she's hiding this glowing light on Chimeran's head.
Chimeran has definitely gone into like the fetal position, and
Good, that makes it easier.
yeah,
He's now
oblivious to what
feeling under
you're
my
doing.
skirts.
Okay. As the other ferry continues to grow closer, the intensity of the light and the pain that Chimerian is feeling likewise grows. There are other people on this ferry with you, but they're exhausted revelers. They're people who look like maybe they are finally getting off of work and are able to maybe go to a home that isn't in the city. So they've given you kind of a wide berth. However, I would imagine that even if Chimerian is able to force down any audible noise, that you're probably not able to hold very still. There's probably a lot of like thrashing out of the limbs and rolling around, kind of someone in agony.
Jeremy,
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you had something.
had Vera cast Intellect Fortress on Chimeran.
I have no idea what the hell that is, but it
Intellect.
sounds
It's
amazing.
Yep. It's for the duration, you or one willing creature you can see within range has resistance to psychic damage as well as advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws.
Excellent.
So
Okay.
seeing that this is all wrapped around his head and mental, and he's oh, I didn't even see Matt had said that in chat. I was gonna make yeah, can she cast Intellect Fortress
Yeah, absolutely.
on him and see if that helps maybe mitigate some of his pain? Or
Okay.
if he needs to do a roll, he'll have advantage on them.
Okay. So it grants advantage on saving throws versus like mind effects.
Resistance to psychic damage, and then advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma.
Perfect. Okay. So what I would like, Vera, describe to me how you cast the spell, and what does the intellect fortress that you construct for Chimeran look like mentally in Chimeran's mind?
She kind of takes a moment and kneels down next to him as his pain's getting worse, and she gets really close to his ear, and she starts to basically kind of sing just this very almost a lullaby in a language that he doesn't probably understand. And as she does this in his mind, Chimeran starts to see that star necklace that they found with the diamond. He starts to see that kind of take shape in front of him in his mind's eye. And then there's another one, and then another one. And eventually what he's seeing that is being done is all of these like duplicates of this necklace amulet are essentially kind of forming almost like a domed wall over what's going on inside of his mind and kind of creating a barrier with that.
Chimeran, you find yourself in this strange place. The pain is still racking through your body, but there's a second layer to your experience that is almost like an out-of-body experience that you're having, where it's almost like it's someone else that's experiencing this pain. It's almost more of an echo, more like an intense memory, but it hasn't severed the connection entirely. You find yourself in this dome. I imagine it looks almost like glass, and you can see that while it is recognizable that it matches the pendant that Vera had, that you saw Vera take from the cobbler's shop, there's something else at work here. That glass dome has not cracks, but patterned lines through it, almost like the web of a spider. And as you're there in this place, you watch as this glass dome is slowly shrinking, slowly getting closer. And these webs are slowly approaching you. While that is happening, the fairies get to the point where they are starting to pass one another. So if you're going to take some form of action, now is probably the best opportunity to do so. Anybody who is okay, anybody who's watching the fairy or looking for an opportunity, you can roll me a perception check. It will be at disadvantage, however, because of the dim light. Okay, looks like a no from
That is
Guillaume.
the slowest dice ever.
Okay.
Sorry, the dice is taking a
You're good.
million
No.
years to roll.
It's the anticipation. I'm so excited.
For a whopping 5.
Womp womp. Okay. So, yes, you look out, you see that this ferry is approaching in the dark starlit sky, starlit night. So it sounds like you have a plan then, Sylvie. What are you doing?
So we're like pretty sure that something, like, if not him, something bad is on this ship. Like, we're pretty confident
I mean,
as far as we know.
yeah, it seems that way. You can see that there are people on this ship. You don't spot anybody that matches the description that Chimeran gave you of this individual, but there's quite a few people on the ship, and really all you can kind of see are like silhouetted forms against like the lamplight that they have on board the ship.
Okay. I think Sylvie's pretty convinced, and I think she wants to slow or stop this. Slow it, at least. She's gonna run and jump into the water. And while she's doing so, is going to cast alter self on herself. As she I like to imagine that she's like, just for flavor, she's like ripping off parts of her like clothes and like dress and like putting it around her hands, and she does this so quickly, and it's going to look like some type of like aquatic outfit. So I sprout gills, webbing, and I can swim 35 feet.
All right.
Yeah, my sword armor. Yeah.
Going to the water temple. So you dive in over the edge of this ferry into this lake, Lago d'Ar, and the rest of the people on the ferry certainly take notice of this. Several of them just assuming that you must have tripped and fallen in. What is the rest of the party doing as Sylvie begins her swim?
Yeah, Guillaume will just immediately like look at like Lox and Vera, just like, did I miss part of the planning?
What's the planning?
Nothing to worry about, folks. She's just eccentric, likes to go for night swims. We'll take care of this.
I
Lox
can't move.
Lox will cast message and say to Sylvie, "Are you good? Do you need us?"
I can respond, right, to message?
Yes.
Okay. Sylvie just responds, "Yes, I am going to slow this boat. I will be right back."
Lox like looks over at Guillaume and Vera and says, "I guess she'll be right back."
Okay, then.
He like uneasily like has his hand on the hilt of his sword, just like watching the water.
Vera is just standing there with Chimeran under her skirts, humming the same tune that she hummed to him and watching the water. It's a sentence I never thought I'd say.
And Chimeran is trying not to scream while under skirts.
Some of the sentences out of context from this game are absolutely. I would not be surprised if I see them show up in a court somewhere someday. Okay. Guillaume, the captain is looking at you, kind of like shrugging now. You wanted to turn around. No, everything's fine. And now somebody has leapt off the side of the boat into the water. He's unsure of what to do. To him, you're just a bunch of crazies on his ferry at like 5 a.m.
There'll be a few extra gold in it for you. Apologies for the interruptions. You didn't see that? That didn't happen. Don't worry about it.
He just, again, sighs and just focuses on getting to the shore at this point. Okay. So while all of you wait, some with bated breath, some with agony, Sylvie, you swim through the dark waters of Lago Dar, approaching this other ferry. Again, they're not separated very far, so especially with your enhanced abilities, it doesn't take long at all to close the distance between them. Before long, you can see the swirling, of all the bubbles as the oars come, deep into the water and kind of stir the ferry forward.
So her goal, she wants to put a little, she wants to spring a leak in the ship. So she's going to go down below the ship and is going to try and hold on as much as she can to below. And she is going to take her hand that has this jewel on it, very similarly to that of what she was using before when they were fighting the were-rats. And this arc of lightning is going to just come shooting out from into the hull, and she wants to use that to try and just put a hole in the ship.
Okay. So just to clarify.
Oh no.
You want to shoot lightning out of your hand while you're underwater, right? That's what you're saying?
Well, not when you say it like that.
just asking. For a friend.
It's not the best, but or actually, I think she's gonna cast Thunder Wave, actually. Which I think would be better and smarter, and she's gonna try and position herself now on kind of the underneath, but still the side that's closest to the ship that we're on, when she casts it, so it's kind of a little bit further out. She doesn't want to do it straight up. She doesn't want to hurt anyone, but she wants to try and kind of
across the body of the boat kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Near the front, near the back, doesn't matter.
I don't think she matters. It matters for her, just kind of wherever she swam in.
Okay. So what does it look like as Sylvie summons this magic underwater?
I imagine that she has she has these gems on her hands, and she's been very ginger with them, very careful with them. Though a lot of you would notice if she's ever putting on her armor. But I think in this case, she so she's holding on and she takes the other one and she's going to clash them together. And that impact from the two gems just makes this booming sound.
Yeah, those of you on the other boat very clearly hear this, though muffled, this. I'm sure you've all seen a video of an explosion underwater where there's that kind of and there's that bubble that kind of rises up before the water then kind of breaks. everybody on the other ferry kind of gasps or shrieks momentarily, and you undoubtedly hear the sound of splintered wood. Below the waterline here, right at kind of the epicenter of this cacophony, you can see, Sylvie, that the strain from this sonic force, this thunder, has pushed the boards that kind of form the hull of this ship hard enough to cause them to not necessarily break inward, but to separate from one another. And you can see that there is water rushing in between these boards. So it's not likely that this thing will sink before it gets to the city, but it won't be long after that if somebody doesn't fix this.
Yeah, that's all Sylvie wanted to do. She just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any way that it was going to be coming back after them. So feeling really confident in that, she's going to like push off and swim back, trying to kind of skirt around to the back. She wants to be a little bit more sneaky now, like kind of thinking about it. She probably made a huge show of it and is probably now a little bit regretting that.
Guillaume is gonna message her, like kind of point in the general direction of that other ship and just whisper, if you're able to swim to the other shore, it might be best if you meet us over there. We're getting a lot of weird looks here about the whole you growing webbing between your fingers as you leapt off the ship, tearing your own clothing off. And I think it would raise more questions if you returned after the explosion.
That's fair. You hear as after a pause, and yeah, Sylvia's just gonna swim.
And he's also just gonna message back after that, like, also, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen you or anyone do.
All right. So Sylvie makes the not so long swim to the shore. Up or down shore, the shoreline from where the ferries are kind of arriving and departing from. You're able to pull yourself up onto the beach, and I don't know if you have like prestidigitation or something, but you're drenched and soaked whenever you come out of the lake. You smell like lake water. Is there anything else that's happening on the ferry? Chimeran. As the ferries came abreast of one another, that's when everything was the most intense. The pain was, again, kind of like, almost like you put aluminum foil in your mouth when you have fillings, that kind of, just that awful tinnitus, like pain in the back of your brain. And then it immediately starts to wane on the other side as this ferry has passed, and the glowing and the pain slowly subside, just about the point that this glass dome filled with these web-like pattern lines has closed in from this intellectual fortress, kind of closed in around you, smaller than the size of like a bedroom. And that's when it all ceases. The glowing stops, the pain goes away, and you regain control of your senses again.
I think after that, he's just gonna lie. He doesn't get up. He does not stop. He's down. He stays on the bottom of the boat, just kind of recovering, just not moving. Like Vera, you could probably tell that whatever was happening is over because the thrashing has stopped, but Chimeran is now not moving. He's just lying there.
Burrow will kind of bend over and grab the edge of like her skirt and kind of pick it up and just look at him underneath her. Are you okay now, darling?
There's barely any movement. I imagine like his face is like into the floor of the boat, and that's kind of how he's trying to muffle the sounds as much as he can. And after a little bit, very shakily almost, he just reaches up with a hand. He doesn't turn his face. He doesn't look where he's going, but he just kind of puts up his hand to the sound of like to where he hears your voice.
Say, okay. Well, you're living, so that's good. Stay under there as long as you need. And she'll just kind of drop the skirt back down on top of him.
I think, yeah, you hear at that, you hear kind of like this soft sobbing start. And Chimera's just gonna lie there for a bit.
All right. Is there anything else that is happening before you reach the far shore? Okay. So you reach the shore just as the earliest hint of light is starting to creep over the western horizon. Here in Rosfine, the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. So you can see over the mountains as this sun begins to rise. The mountains, though quite distant from this point, you are still able to see the ridge line that kind of forms the border of the Gerdessi kingdom. The ferry bumps up against the pier. They moor it in place, and you're able to disembark with the horses. Someone else leads the one that Sylvie is intended to ride. You're able to disembark onto the shore and regroup. After a few minutes, I imagine Sylvie finds you. I don't imagine it's too difficult to spot your group, especially with horses. What are you doing as the five of you reconvene?
I think Sylvie looks to Chimera and just, are you okay? She's looking for any sign of glowing.
I think he just looks at you, and you can see the torment behind his eyes, and he doesn't say anything, but he just kind of shakes his head to that question, no, I'm not fine.
She nods quickly. But it is not glowing anymore.
Let's go. We came here to do something. Let's do it. Let's go. I want to get away from here.
Locks just kind of claps you on the shoulder and does a little squeeze sort of between your neck and your shoulder. And he just nods and says, first this, then your thing.
Okay. You each mount up into a saddle of one of the stolen horses, and you ride on down the road a ways, heading further towards the south along the shore of the lake. Before long, you see ahead of you what is likely a new sight for all of you as characters. However, it is somewhat of a familiar sight to us as an audience, as we see Via de la Apuzuelo. On the western shore of Lago Dar, it is a sprawling and storied estate. This is the home of Mercuzio de la Apuzuelo and his wife, Escanada. As you arrive at the front gate, the private road that leads to the villa, the gates are closed. There is an armed guard sitting in a small single-room gatehouse off to one side, who is apparently asleep as you ride up.
We're coming under the guise of Sylvie returning the dresses, right? Is that this?
I think so. I believe that's right.
Because he had asked, he had asked for the dresses to be returned.
Mm-hmm.
Quite rudely. So Sylvie is going, and the gates are closed. So yeah, Sylvie is going to try and wake the guard up, like very like, excuse me, very loudly.
Yeah, he's kind of sitting on a stool, kind of leaned back against the wall with his arms kind of folded across his chest. He has, what looks almost more like an ornamental pike, kind of than anything else, kind of like in the crook of one arm, held against him by like his own folded arms. He startles whenever you call to him. The pike slips from the crook of his arm and clatters against the floor as he scrambles up to his feet, kind of blinking his eyes wide, looking around before he finally sets his eyes on you. What are you doing here?
I have come to, on behest of the master of this estate, and I am here to return some dresses.
He yawns like uncontrollably. Is the master expecting you at such an early hour? He kind of looks
yes,
for the
he
sun.
is. And most certainly. He talked to me himself asking for this return, and I can only oblige by giving him the same treatment.
Okay, fine. He goes over to the gate, kind of pulls the latch open, swings it open, allowing you enough room to ride through with your horses. Ride through you do. You find yourself amid a sprawling complex of outbuildings, hedge mazes, orchards. I mean, this is like a proper estate. In Al Hidalgo, an estate means a nice house, maybe like a surrounding wall. This is like acreage of land, so it would be very unusual for somebody like Guillaume, who's never been outside of Al Hidalgo. And all of it is almost like waterfront property. So it all has, that early morning reflection where the water still somewhat kind of looks like a mirror. So you're seeing almost all of these buildings twice. And there's people, even at this early hour of the morning, there are people buzzing around everywhere here. People who are cleaning, raking, sweeping, perhaps even leading horses to and fro. There's a ton of people here, but everything of this place seems to kind of be designed in such a way that it puts the manor house itself at the focal point. Everywhere you look, the hedges, the rows of trees in the orchard, they're all groomed and planted in a way that they create leading lines that draw your eye towards this enormous house.
Guillaume will turn to everyone, and you see this kind of creeping look of horror on his face, and he say, "Oh my God, my father lied to me. We've been poor all along. I didn't realize. I didn't realize. I thought."
Well, you had to find out sooner or later, Gil.
Yeah, Guillaume, you're like rich. This son of a bitch is rich.
Oh, it's just gonna take me a minute. That's okay. Let's
I
keep
bet
going.
they have 2 horse houses.
Their stable is so big. It's so big and so nice.
I imagine
We
you
have room
ride
for,
past
like-
the stable and it actually looks like a fucking house. It has like glass windows and like fantastic giant doors.
It's like 2-story, right? So it's got like the loft has got its own little
There's
windows.
a fucking balcony on it for some reason.
Each horse has like a 4-poster bed with like drapes.
They have separate
A
dressage
manservant for every
arenas for
horse.
each horse. I've only read about it and seen like drawings.
Fantastic.
Gil, perhaps you should look into. Perhaps you should look into marrying someone with more money than you.
Clearly. Oh, I have to rethink everything.
Well, at least when your father takes you out of his inheritance, you're not really losing that much.
All right, that is a bright spot. If I'm only city rich, not country estate rich, then what's the difference between being that and poor?
You ride up to the front steps of this manor house, where there is already someone standing, waiting outside, and this individual looks like they're dressed to receive party guests. You know, they have gloves on, they have tails on their jacket. It's very, very prim and proper. As you ride up, they will step forward and take the reins of your horses, calling over other individuals to then take each horse and lead them to the horse house. Once the horses are led away, this individual with tails and gloves then directs you up the stairs towards the front door.
I have a quick question. This side of the lard, whatever, I can't remember. This western side, Monchalona is this how you would get to Monchalona from the city, Hidalgo, or is Monchalona on the other side of the lake?
So it is on the same side. Let me see if I can't get the map real quick. Okay. So you can see Al Hidalgo here in the middle of the lake. You are kind of where the inset of that lake is, where it kind of like comes in narrowly to the west of the city of El Hidalgo, below the A. Monchalona is quite a bit to the southwest of you, kind of tucked up right up against the mountains almost. So
So if
yes,
you
it's
were
on the
to-
same side, but it's
but
quite some
far
distance.
away.
Yeah.
So if you were coming from Monchelona, is that where you would expect to ferry over to Oladago, or would you be going most likely the other side?
You would probably ferry from here. This has been
Okay.
like where you departed from the ferry. There's like a small, it's not even really like a village. It's more just like a couple of buildings that service the ferry traffic back and forth. It's a little more robust currently just because of the increase in the traffic. But this is probably the best point of egress on the western shore to come to the city.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Sylvie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean this in the kindest way possible. You stink. Would you like some assistance with that, or would you like to smell to talk to this asshole?
Well, nothing would please me more than to see his face scrunch up in that. Better not make a bad name for our type, so I probably should smell decent.
Yes, I can help with that too. And
I'll use
we'll
some
start, like-
prestidigitation to like.
yeah, and Guillaume at the very end, like, oh, wait, I've been working on a number of different scents, but do you mind if I try one? I think I have one that will match your
New car.
general aesthetic.
Yeah, while Vera's been doing that, Sylvie's been casting mending on her clothes to like bring them back to what they were. But yeah, she nods to Guillaume.
And you might think he's like about to like do like a little like magic thing, but he actually like reaches into his bag and pulls out like a little bottle of perfume, just like a little like test bottle. He's like, I dabble in my spare time, and he'll give you like just a little two little spritzes of this perfume.
She like looks spare. When have you had a chance to make all of this?
Well, I did this before we left. I mean, before the whole murder accusation thing, I had a lot of spare time.
So you
I
just
generally made my own scents. I don't know if you've ever noticed. I tend to wear a very subtle sort of a blend. It's
We notice your
mostly-
cologne.
Oh, good. Yes, it's mostly in the floral range. But I thought something a little more vanilla based, but adjacent might fit you. Well, you know, tell me what you think, or don't. You just experience it.
She is going to like take some and like kind of like dab it on her wrists and like put and go to smell. I am actually quite impressed and surprised.
Yeah, I want to say that this is like the one thing that Guillaume's actually kind of good at. Like he's okay at magic, but like not the best. But he's actually got a good nose for scents.
Guillaume, you could possibly make quite a bit of money making little satchels of these for people to hang off the bridles of their horses for when they're traveling.
He just looks disgusted at that suggestion.
Why?
These are fine scents for.
Yes,
Listen,
and
I
rich
don't know if you
people
know the
like things to
chemistry of it,
smell
but-
pretty all the time. And rich
But a
people
horse
pay a lot
scent-
of money.
A horse scent, you'd need something much more in an earthy tone that would be complemented by the horse's natural musks. This vanilla, this is just putting perfume on a pig. It's completely different. That wouldn't work.
Are you calling Sylvie a pig?
No, I'm saying the horse is the pig. It's a bad metaphor. I understand that now, but this has nothing to do with Sylvie.
I'm so confused.
It's a bad metaphor. Drop it. Just just wanted to
Takeaway
share
here
something
is
with
that
you
the
guys.
horse is a pig. That's the thing we should all remember.
Exactly.
Lox gets it.
I'm sorry, Guillaume. I was just trying to help you come up with a way to make more money since you are destitute
Oh,
now.
right. Poor now. I keep
Mhm.
forgetting. That's gonna take some adjustment. All right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get offended. I just misunderstood.
The valet who has been escorting you into the manor house, who's been privy to this entire conversation, has not cracked, has not made a smile, but there's no question whatsoever that he was party to all of this. He walks you deeper into the manor house, where he takes you just outside of a large set of very, very beautifully carved wooden doors. He turns to you and he says, "The master is in his study. If you are ready to see him, I will announce you."
Actually, do Escada, is that her name?
Escanada.
Escanada. Do you know where Escanada is?
The Lady Apazuelo is not taking guests at this time. She is feeling poorly.
Oh, that is such a shame. I was so hoping just to talk with her, just briefly, just to make sure that the dresses that she wanted to return are the ones that I have, and I don't want to bore the with all of this dress talk, and I don't think that he would want to hear all of this. Let's leave it to the lady.
This dude stares you straight in the face and, cold as ice, just blinks. If you are ready to speak with my lord, then I will introduce you.
Yes.
Pardon me. I don't mean to be a bother, but could I be shown to the lavatory while my mistress does business?
He looks to you, blinks. Very well. After I introduce you, I will show you where you must do your business.
Thank you. Of course, that much appreciated.
He then turns and enters the room, opening the door, closing it behind him, and you can hear him announcing Sylvie as, the owner of... Oh no, I didn't write down your name, the name of your shop. He announces the name of your shop along with your name, and then opens the door again, wide enough now that you can enter the study.
You guys think he would notice if I went rat while the door was shut and just disappeared? I don't know how observant he is. I'll go in with you guys.
I feel like this kind of guy is probably pretty observant. I mean, this is his thing.
Especially when he said he was going to show you where to relieve yourself afterwards.
Really hoping I could slip away.
Okay, so is everybody except for Guillaume? Nope, there is not.
Vera's gonna stay outside. She doesn't care about going in and listening to this guy talk. She's just gonna stay outside the doors.
I'm going in with Sylvie.
Okay. And Lox?
I will also go in with Sylvie.
Okay. So the three of you enter. The study is not quite as ostentatious as the rest of the house. It's a lot more, I guess, like what we would call medieval. A lot of the furniture is a lot darker wood tones, a lot larger. Some of the carvings and the decorations are a little more severe. And seated behind a rather large desk is an individual who looks like a map, oddly enough.
Never did trust this guy.
He's a very flat character, two-dimensional.
His excuses are paper thin.
He's literally
y'all.
all over the place.
Oh my god, we're
Unless you're really paying attention, you just
Oh, there it is.
you never know what direction he's coming from.
It's really just
Oh my-
bordering on stupid at this point.
Wow. Wow. Okay. There is an individual who sits in what could easily be described as a throne. I can't remember if everyone has met this individual before, but I know at least Sylvie has. He has stacks of coin that are kind of sat around him, several books, candles, some of which have melted down. He may have been in here for hours already at this point. It's difficult to tell. He sits with his hands kind of folded in front of him with somewhat of an irked expression on his face, waiting for you to enter. Jesus, Kenya. And he looks up from his papers in front of him, and he says, "I was not expecting you so soon. Please, sit down."
Well, you seemed so very urgent during the party. I thought that it was the utmost importance to bring the dresses.
Yes, as I stated, you will be rewarded for your expediency, I suppose. My wife is to have no further business with you. She has a proclivity to spend money that does not belong to her.
Sylvie sniffs, nods. Perhaps after she has had the child, and maybe you will be in need of some outfits for the little ones. I also do outfits for all family.
That won't be necessary. He grew like visibly uncomfortable, like shifting in his throne whenever you mentioned the child.
She nods. Essentially, like, Sylvie wants to just kind of stall him a little bit as much as she can, giving kind of
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of how she would do that. You know that your manservant would not let me speak with Escanada, which very understandable. I'm sure that she is not feeling very well, but I would like to just go over, make sure that I did create quite a few outfits for her, and I just want to make sure that I'm getting everything that I made from her, just making sure that it is all in order and everything looks great. As I'm sure it does, but you must understand that this is my livelihood, this is my business, so I must be painstakingly thorough with my just looking, making sure everything looks good.
Of course, all of the dresses have been removed and placed in a separate room where you can go over them to see that they are correct, of course. However, my wife is not seeing company, as I am certain you understood.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, completely understandable, especially someone so far along with child.
He squirms again, clears his throat. So while you stall him, meanwhile, outside of the study, where Vera is and Guillaume are standing, the valet closes the door after having permitted the other three into the study, and then turns to face you, Guillaume, and takes a few steps past you, and then kind of turns to look at you.
Ah, the lavatory. Yes, thank you. Lead on.
He kind of looks to you, Vera. If you would not mind to wait here, please.
I can entertain myself here, sure.
He nods and then turns and will lead Guillaume off to wherever the restrooms are in this place. Does Vera, in fact, stay put? Oh, did I interrupt you, Karen?
No.
I didn't think so. So what
she's
is
gonna kind of
she doing?
She's going to kind of just casually, as if she's admiring the architecture of the house, she's just going to kind of start like meandering down the hall a bit. Maybe she comes to another hallway, she'll turn down that one, and she's essentially trying to find a space where she's going to she's kind of trying to look, and I know it's like going to be hard to see, but she's looking for anything that might be of any evidence that maybe something along what happened to Annabella is happening here, or is there some sort of weird... She's trying to figure out if this woman's in trouble at all. I don't know.
So
specifically.
Yeah. You can roll me an investigation. And you can have advantage on this roll.
Well, I'm glad I got advantage because I rolled a 1, but the advantage was not that great either, and I got an 11 total.
Okay. So you're kind of wandering around this place looking for anything that could indicate that there's something amiss here, other than this lord being a right prick. But there's a few times where you think maybe a shadow is moving in a strange way, similar to what Lox described seeing. But then you realize that it's just the rising sun, the dawn shadows kind of being chased away or shifting as the day grows brighter. So there's a few times where you might kind of like, see something out of the peripheral vision, and when you turn, you realize it's nothing. But it's enough maybe to kind of keep you on edge. Guillaume, when you are led to the lavatories and left to do your business while you're pretty sure that the valet is waiting outside, are you just gonna do your business and then return with him? Is the intention to get up to some kind of fuckery, or?
definitely the intention is for fuckery.
Okay, I thought so.
Okay,
but-
first thing Gil wants to do is just kind of like case the bathroom, see if there's like, is there any other entrance or exit, or even like hole in the wall or anything that like, I don't know, something maybe a rat could fit through, something about that size.
Just for instance.
Just as a random example.
So, other than obviously the door that you came through, I would say that there are probably like holes that are pretty high, close to the ceiling for ventilation, to allow the smells to escape. It might be somewhat difficult to climb up the wall, but as a rat, it might be possible. There is another exit from the room. However, it might be less savory. You're muted.
Oh, yeah, definitely would rather go for the vents than that other option.
I figured.
First, just as a like shot in the dark, Guillaume is going to just do like a quick like 5 degrees, like every 5 degrees pointing, just go like cast message, like Escanada, 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 just like spinning around, just doing a quick like, I'm just gonna send out a little telepathic blast of like, if she's here, hopefully she'll hear me and whisper back like, what the fuck is this? But if not, I'll hopefully try to look for her.
Okay, just as a name is what you're sending out?
Yeah, just
okay.
Just picturing her and trying to send the message to her with message.
Okay. So yeah, as you're kind of pivoting and pointing back towards kind of the heart of the manor house, so to speak, you're on to like the next, I don't know, the one after or the third one after or something when there is a response. Hello, who is this?
I'll get back to that same spot and message again. We're friends. Are you hurt? Are you in danger?
Discomfort. I fear for the child once it is born. But I do not think that I am in danger.
There's no time to beat around the bush. Your husband is being shady as fuck. Any idea what's going on with him?
He is a cruel man with no love in his heart. But I do not think that he is dishonorable.
Why is he keeping you from seeing or speaking to anyone? Do you need to get out of here? If you need to run away, we can help you get away.
The child is not his. Have you come with word? With word of my Margrino?
Margrino Palico?
Yes, you know him?
Okay, quick question, Jeremy. The name is familiar and I have it written down, but I'm bad at notes. Why is that name familiar? I'm so sorry.
I don't remember if you as players necessarily have this knowledge or as your characters have this knowledge, but as an audience, we saw Magrino Palico lose a duel to Lord de la Apozuelo. He was killed on these very grounds at the very beginning of the campaign.
He's Juanita's nephew, isn't he?
Oh, don't catch me lying.
Is he someone we would have heard of potentially? Or like, is he like prominent enough in society that we would know?
His social standing is considerably less than her husband's. So it's unlikely that anybody has had a lot of dealings with him before. It's entirely possible that his name might have been mentioned before, because you have spoken to Escanada once before, and I don't remember who it was. It might have been Sylvie.
I just remember when
Yeah.
Nita came into the shop. I remember she mentioned she was here for a
Oh,
funeral for her
no.
nephew.
Oh, that was
No,
the
that
guy
was
that I'm
for
accused
the
of
silver
killing.
guy.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It was Bathtub Boy.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
Bathtub
the guy,
Boy was
that
his
was the
nephew.
guy at the university.
Was her
Gotcha.
nephew? Okay,
Mhm.
she's aunt of Bathtub Boy. I'm gonna add that note.
Yep. So yeah, that's what that is.
Okay, so I don't think Guillaume probably would have said that last name then, because I don't know if he knows it. So say I'm sorry, I don't know what that is or who that is, but if your child is not your husband's, even if honestly, this may have nothing to do with why we're here. But you're in a lot of danger either way, I think, regardless of who the father of the child is. Where are you? Like in the mansion, where are you?
I'm in my. Hello? And then there's no more response.
I'm gonna shoot a message back to probably Vera, since I know that she's like I think she's standing outside the door, and say, relate as much of that as I can, basically just saying like I think she doesn't think she's in danger, but he's not the father, and it kind of seems like none of that has anything to do with what we're doing here to protect her from the real threats.
Did you find out where she's at, or tell her to come down to see us?
Something cut us off. I think she was about to say she was in her quarters. Like in her room, which shouldn't be too hard to find. You just find probably the second biggest room.
I guess hearing that something cut them off, Vera's gonna kind of panic a little bit and maybe try and listen really, really, really hard and see if she hears any sort of disturbance or, any struggle. Is there anything going on? She's essentially wondering if the same thing that happened to Annabelle is happening to this woman since she was cut off.
Okay.
So I guess perception?
Yes. Let's do a perception roll.
My dice and I are going to have a strong
Uh-oh.
talk after the game is over tonight.
It's needed
That's another
sometimes.
11.
Oh, all right. You are wandering through the halls of this manor house. It's absurdly large. There are hallways that branch off of other hallways. There are rooms that seem to lead to other rooms. It's almost like a maze. And you eventually find where you think it might be the bedrooms. You're not really certain if it is or not, and then you hear what sounds like muffled screaming.
I will run in the direction of said muffled screaming.
Okay. You take off using these noises, these sounds of screaming as your cues, as your direction, your guide. You find yourself in front of a door. Large, ornate, very prominently on the outside, there's a keyhole.
If I try to open the door, is it locked?
It is. When you try the door, you hear the muffled screaming change to calls for help.
I am going to kind of step back and I'm going to cast Shatter on the door.
Excellent.
and try to basically blow it open.
Yeah. You cast your spell on this door, probably right, near the lock. There is a tremendous noise as this door is rended open at the lock. You're able to then easily kind of push it open, and inside the room, you see Escanada in the center of the room, 8 feet off of the floor, held aloft by a shadow. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session. I love this game. Y'all are amazing. Okay. I'm going to pass things around the horn so that everybody can say their parting goodbyes, any closing remarks, and then we're going to call it a night. So we're going to start in reverse order with Karen.
Yeah, I like always, I got nothing to say because I'm speechless because of what's just happened and where we ended, and you good storyteller, and cannot wait for the next episode. I'm gonna pass it on to Austin.
Oh, Jeremy, you bastard. I love these games so much. I'm also like, what do you even add to that? I can't wait to get back into this. Thank you so much for running these games, and thanks everybody for these ridiculous characters you are all playing. They are all so fascinating and so fun, and so fun to play with. So I will pass it off to M.
Yeah, I echo all of that. And we don't have a lot of luck when we go into other people's houses. I think we should stop. We always seem to find the baddies there. But no, this has been awesome. I'm super stoked to play next, and these are great players, great DMs. So I will pass it to Matt.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. Just damn you, Jeremy. Damn you. It's so good. And yeah, I can't wait to find out what's going to happen. I'm like, I think this mansion is going to be the site of much hijinks next time, I'm assuming. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Kenya.
Oh boy. Yeah, everything they said, and yeah. This is interesting. I am constantly floored at this game, and I do not know how you keep all of your little ins and outs of your society straight, Jeremy, because oh my gosh, there are so many people. And I bathtub boy is so and so's aunt, who is also Guillaume's old roommate. Like, it's like my uncle's cousin's sister's brother twice removed kind of a thing, and it is amazing that you can keep it all straight. So on that note, thank you. I cannot wait until next game, and it's coming back to you.
Thank you very much. Again, I did not recall exactly whose nephew it was at first, so I have wonderful people to help me remember, and a lot of notes. Yeah, like I said on break, like, it's so amazing to be able to hand a setting that I've held dear for a long time, to hand that off to other people and entrust that it's not necessarily that you're going to do something bad to it. Like, it's it's a campaign setting, whatever, but it's not being certain that everybody gets it, if that makes sense. But all of you get it. You really, really do. Every time that I ask you to step up to the plate with something, you absolutely nail it and add incredible detail onto the existing setting that feels right. that is, it's honest and it's true. So it's fantastic to have that experience as a world builder. So thank you, all of you, very, very much for being such giving players, and not just with me and my setting, but also with one another. You're all invested in each other's story. You all take time to make sure that every other character has the opportunity to be involved in what's going on in any given scene. There's tons of dialogue between your characters, and not just filler dialogue. That happens too, the stuff with the horse house and everything, which is hilarious. But there's also really poignant moments, really fantastic beats of character development that happen that my hands are completely free of. So I get to kind of enjoy part of that as an audience member, which is really, really incredible. So yeah, I love this hobby. I love this game. I love all of you. Yeah, it's incredible that I get to do this for fun. So thank you. For those of you who have watched this evening, thank you very, very much for tuning in. Whether you watched live along with us this evening, or whether you might be tuning in at some point down the road, it really genuinely is very, very touching that there are people out there who are enjoying us just goofing off and rolling dice for a couple of hours. So do all the stuff that YouTube likes for you to do. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the link around if you feel the need. I appreciate it if you do. But remember the same thing that I say at the end of every game: kindness is a free action. The world is a terrible, scary fucking place right now, especially certain corners of it. Looking at you, Texas. So kindness doesn't cost you anything, and the world needs a lot more of it right now to counteract all the horseshit that's flying around. So be kind. With that, I think we're going to call it a close. So until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.